From Chris Benoit's tragedy that stunned the entire world.
8 people died in that house that night. Only one person had the choice behind it. The other 2 didn't have a choice to die. So if that's your boy...
To Hulk Hogan's racism scandal that damaged his whole legacy.
Are you a racist?
No, I'm not. I'm not a racist. I never should have said what I said. It was wrong. I'm embarrassed by it.
In this video, we are looking at 10 WWE legends whose real-life controversies changed them from beloved heroes into some of the most hated figures in wrestling history. Chris Benoit was once seen as one of the greatest technical wrestlers ever, known for his sharp in-ring skills, intense style, and deep commitment to wrestling, which earned him respect from fellow wrestlers and love from millions of fans. His career lasted more than 20 years and took him through famous places like Stampede Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, ECW, WCW, and finally WWE, where he reached his biggest dream. At WrestleMania 20 in 2004, Benoit stood in the ring as the World Heavyweight Champion with tears running down his face as he hugged his best friend Eddie Guerrero, a moment meant to be the peak of his long journey and a symbol of hard work and never giving up. But that powerful moment would later be covered by a tragedy no one could imagine. In June 2007, Chris Benoit murdered his wife Nancy and his 7-year-old son Daniel before taking his own life in their home near Atlanta. The tragedy shocked the entire wrestling world, and WWE quickly removed Benoit from their history, taking away every mention of his name and every match from their library as if he had never existed. The anger toward Benoit is deep and understandable, and people in wrestling have been clear and firm in their criticism of him.
My boy. Why? Why? Yeah, you can admire his work all you want, but you know what? You can admire his work all you want, but I'll give you my take on it, since you want to keep on yelling out my boy. 3 people died in that house that night. 3, I don't care about CTE. 3 people died in that house that night. Only one person had the choice behind it. The other 2 didn't have a choice to die. So if that's your boy...
Paul Heyman's raw reaction in that moment showed exactly what many people felt, that no matter what was happening inside Benoit's mind, and no matter how much chronic traumatic encephalopathy may have played a part in his actions, 3 people lost their lives that night, and only one of them had any choice in it. Wrestler Jordynne Grace caused debate when she tweeted that everyone should hate Benoit and ignore his entire career, though she later helped set up a CTE fundraiser after Benoit's sister-in-law Sandra Toffoloni said the family felt forgotten. Others like wrestler Konnan have said Benoit's severe brain damage should be taken into account, saying he had CTE and it was not like he was some serial killer, but for most fans and wrestlers the scale of what happened makes any kind of forgiveness impossible. On Reddit and across social media, people agree that Chris Benoit is fully removed from all WWE content, and they believe it is the right move. A man who once stood for pure wrestling skill is now remembered as a monster, with his 22-year career and every great match permanently overshadowed by one terrible weekend. From a hero turned into a nightmare, the next WWE legend shows how even the biggest stars can fall in the most public way. For countless fans who grew up in the 1980s, Hulk Hogan was more than a wrestler. He was a superhero and a symbol of American pride, the man who told kids to say their prayers and take their vitamins as Hulkamania spread all over the world, making him the biggest name in wrestling history. He main event 8 of the first 9 WrestleManias, held 6 WWF championships, and his famous body slam on Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3 became one of the most unforgettable moments in sports entertainment. Hogan helped change wrestling from a small regional show into a worldwide sensation, appearing in movies, on television, and in ads that made him known far outside the ring. But in 2015, everything fell apart when a leaked recording came out, revealing Hogan using racist language, including several uses of the N-word while talking about his daughter's boyfriend, and what disturbed people even more was how casually he spoke about his racist views.
I was at the lowest point of my life. My personal life was destroyed. I was very mad at my daughter.
Even in his apology, Hogan found it hard to fully accept responsibility for what he said.
Are you a racist?
No, I'm not. I'm not a racist. I never should have said what I said. It was wrong. I'm embarrassed by it. But a lot of people need to realize that you inherit things from your environment.
The claim that he picked up racism from his surroundings in South Tampa felt empty to most people, and Reddit users broke down his behavior with sharp detail, saying Hogan was not just racist but uniquely and extremely racist, with one commenter pointing out that Hogan was so racist he feared facing racism himself if he were reborn as a black person. a reaction to Hogan's strange comments about karma and reincarnation connected to his son's car crash that left a man with permanent brain damage. Many black wrestling fans shared their hurt and disappointment when Hogan died in 2025, realizing their childhood hero had viewed them as less than others. WWE fired him in 2015 but brought him back in 2018 after an apology that many believed was driven by money rather than morals, and fan polls regularly place Hogan among the most disliked wrestlers, with viewers unable to enjoy his matches without remembering his hateful words. The saddest part of Hogan's story is that his racism hides not only his achievements but also the long history of backstage politics tied to him, with stories of him refusing to lose, influencing bookers to keep his spot, and stopping younger wrestlers from rising for many years. Yet it is the racism that will define him forever, turning the red and yellow icon of so many childhoods into a warning about flawed heroes. And if Hogan's legacy was damaged by what he said, the next legend showed that a person's actions and beliefs can be just as destructive. The Ultimate Warrior was pure wild energy in human form, with his entrance alone where he sprinted to the ring and shook the ropes with fierce excitement, while his face paint and bright tassels made him unforgettable and helped him skyrocket in popularity. His win over Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6 to claim both the Intercontinental and WWF championships at the same time felt like the start of a new age, and for a short time the Ultimate Warrior was seen as Hogan's replacement and the future of wrestling. But behind the paint and power stood a man whose beliefs were as harmful as his wrestling skills were limited.
He wasn't a great worker. He didn't like the business, but he made a lot of money. But he just hated the business. He really did, you know.
He was just in it for the money.
Yeah, he was in it for the money.
Fellow wrestlers described the Ultimate Warrior as difficult, unreliable, and truly strange, with one saying Sid Vicious thought someone was playing a joke on him because Warrior acted so wild and unpredictable, but it was Warrior's hateful public comments that secured his place as one of the most disliked legends in wrestling history. Vice magazine explained how WWE has tried to clean up Warrior's past by ignoring his long record of homophobic speeches and racist remarks. On his blog, Warrior mocked Heath Ledger by calling him Leatherheadger and sarcastically praised him as a great father for dying, openly making fun of the actor's death. He posted messages against Martin Luther King Jr. Day and claimed Hurricane Katrina victims were responsible for their own suffering, and his homophobic speeches at schools and public events led to protests and petitions. Reddit users do not hold back, calling the Ultimate Warrior an ignorant, racist, homophobic pile of trash. Yet WWE still introduced the Warrior Award in his name after his death in 2014, only days after his Hall of Fame induction and his final emotional appearance on Monday Night Raw.
So am I. I'm a different guy. We cleared the air. We asked for forgiveness, both of us. We shook hands and walked away feeling pretty damned embarrassed that I even considered not talking to him. That's how big of a change he had made.
His widow Dana says his heart changed after deep talks with his daughters, but for many people it was far too little and far too late, and the Ultimate Warrior remains a reminder of how WWE often puts profit before principle by choosing to honor a man with hateful views through an award that is meant to represent kindness and humanitarian work. Moving from bigotry to abuse of power, the next WWE figure shows that legends are not always heroes. The Fabulous Moola held the Women's Championship for 28 years, a record that may never be matched, and she was praised for keeping women's wrestling alive during years when it was banned in several states, training many female wrestlers and helping build the foundation for today's women's revolution in WWE. In 2018, WWE announced that the first women's battle royal at WrestleMania would be named after her, which at first seemed like a fitting tribute to a woman who had broken barriers in a male-dominated industry, but then the darker stories began to surface. Former wrestler Mad Maxine said on Dark Side of the Ring that Moola sent young girls to a man in Arizona and allowed them to be pimped out, and other trainees stepped forward with claims of financial abuse, mistreatment, and being sent to promoters for exploitation. These accusations created a picture of Moola as someone who used her control over women's wrestling not to support or lift the division, but to control and take advantage of young women who were desperate to make it in the business.
Vince should have said, wait a minute, look. And they should have came out with a press conference and said this, wait a minute, Mars or Snickers and all that. Listen, let's get the facts straight, because here is a woman that worked for us for so many years that I still stand behind her, because she deserves the recognition. So let's see where this came from and who started this mess. I've had a cousin that come up and said, Judy, did you really do that? I said, do what? And they said, about Moola pimping you out. I said, pimping us out? like I said, I mean, nobody really knows how it hurts you to hear that you work for somebody and they pimped you out so you get where you did.
The emotional words from Judy Martin, one of the Glamour girls, showed how deeply these accusations hurt the women who worked with Moola.
All you people that signed that petition and brought Moola into as a pimp, I felt that you really said that she pimped us girls out, which that never happened. The drugs, I've never done drugs. I mean, I had been tested way back then, and I guarantee you the only thing they could found in me was a cigarette. And that it hurts. It actually hurts. And I don't know if you guys are really wrestling fans or just have nothing to do but sign. If you did sign a piece of paper, you just signed it. But you really damaged a lot of girls in this business that worked at that time.
While some people defended Moola, social media was harsh and unforgiving, with fans calling her a pimp and worse, noting that her actions contributed to many women being abused, and the backlash was so strong that WWE reversed their decision, renaming the Battle Royal and distancing themselves from Moola's legacy, while Stephanie McMahon publicly addressed the controversy on Twitter, recognizing the concerns about abuse of power behind the scenes and the tragedies in the spotlight. WWE's Next Legend shows how fame can cover a lifetime of darkness. Jimmy Superfly Snuka changed professional wrestling with his daring aerial style, with his signature Superfly splash from the top rope or even from the top of a steel cage influencing generations of high-flying wrestlers. In 1983, his legendary leap from the top of a cage onto Don Morocco's body at Madison Square Garden became one of wrestling's most replayed moments, cementing his reputation as an innovator and a risk-taker. But that same year, something far more tragic occurred. In May 1983, Snuka's girlfriend Nancy Argentino was found dead in their hotel room in Whitehall Township, Pennsylvania, a 23-year-old woman with severe head injuries that the medical examiner said looked like she had been hit by a moving vehicle or struck with a weapon, though Snuka claimed she had fallen and hit her head. The case went cold, with many believing Vince McMahon Sr. helped cover up what really happened to protect one of his biggest stars. For more than 30 years, Snuka continued to wrestle and was even inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 1996, while Nancy's family kept seeking justice. And in 2015, Snuka was finally charged with third-degree murder, but the case never went to trial because he was found incompetent due to dementia and stomach cancer. And he died in 2017 without ever facing justice for Nancy's death.
To say it, but I had just left him when we were on our way back home, where we live in Florida, and he passed away. But I went to see him every day. He didn't know anybody, but he knew us.
All that, the controversial stuff that happened with him, and that
I think he would have got over it. See, the case has never been solved because he's never been, they ruled him he couldn't.
Yeah, couldn't test it.
The Snuka case is one of wrestling's darkest chapters, a story of a legend whose groundbreaking moves inspired generations of wrestlers and whose Hall of Fame career brought joy to millions, but whose alleged violent act against a young woman was ignored for decades to protect the business. And although Nancy Argentino's family won a civil lawsuit, for many that brought little comfort as criminal justice was never served. Snuka's alleged crimes shook the wrestling world, but Vince McMahon's scandals shook the entire empire. Vince McMahon didn't just take part in professional wrestling, he completely changed it as chairman and CEO of WWE, turning a regional company into a global entertainment powerhouse, creating WrestleMania, buying rivals like WCW and ECW, and building WWE into a publicly traded company worth billions. As a performer, his Mr. McMahon character, the evil boss obsessed with power, became one of wrestling's most memorable villains, feuding with Stone Cold Steve Austin in stories that defined the Attitude Era and took WWE to new heights. But in 2022 and 2023, allegations surfaced that reflected his on-screen persona in disturbing ways, with multiple lawsuits claiming sexual misconduct, trafficking, and emotional abuse, and the allegations were shocking, describing a man who allegedly used his power to coerce and harm employees. One former WWE star said, "Vince made so many of us feel small and awful," while another called him a manipulative piece of trash, describing the cult-like atmosphere inside WWE where McMahon's word was law.
What do you think of this whole controversy now with Jimmy Snuka that they're trying to bring back?
It's sad. We were just talking about it earlier. I don't know what transpired. I had just come into the territory at that time. Of course, Jimmy that was before Hogan. He was the man. hope it's not true. I don't know if it's true. But Jimmy's gone through a lot. He fought cancer.
McMahon resigned from WWE in 2024 amid the scandals, ending his decades-long control over the company, and a Netflix documentary later examined the explosive allegations, changing how the public saw the man who built WWE. And the irony was striking as the evil boss he played on TV, who abused power and treated employees like toys, seemed less like a character and more like a confession. McMahon ran the company, but Shawn Michaels ran the wrestlers, and sometimes that control came at a cost. Shawn Michaels, known as Mr. WrestleMania, was a performer whose athleticism, charisma, and storytelling made him one of the greatest in-ring stars ever, with his ladder match against Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10 changing match stipulations forever, his Iron Man match with Bret Hart at WrestleMania 12 showing endurance and skill, and his formation of D-Generation X with Triple H helping kick off the Attitude Era. By any measure, Michaels earned his spot among wrestling's all-time greats, but in the 1990s he was also one of the most hated men backstage, not by fans but by fellow wrestlers. As a member of the Clique, a powerful backstage group with Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Triple H, and Sean Waltman, Michaels held enormous influence, affecting booking decisions, pushing friends, and making life miserable for anyone they disliked.
The one night that your name always comes up in, of course, is the Screwjob. And you sort of playing the somewhere between peacemaker slash, kind of hearing Bret out and enforcer. Can you take us through a little bit how you remember that thing playing out for you?
So, at that time, Bret and I, we still are we're pretty close. Bret's radar was up. Like he felt like something might go.
The most notorious example of Shawn Michaels' backstage power was the Montreal Screwjob in 1997, when Bret Hart, who was leaving WWE for WCW, was meant to keep his championship but did not want to lose it in Canada to his bitter rival Michaels.
And to this day, I cannot figure out how that punch got through so many people. It was like, I don't know, because there were so many people in there and they weren't like face to face, but and that punch got through. He hit Vince went down, and that was it.
So Bret says it was an uppercut.
Michaels himself admitted the anger he caused, saying people's dislike for him was clear and noting that the Clique deliberately fueled that heat, with wrestlers calling him a cancer in the locker room and one saying bluntly that Shawn couldn't stand him. Yet Michaels' story includes a level of redemption that sets him apart, as after a career-ending back injury in 1998 and his return in 2002, his Christian faith and time away from wrestling changed him, leading him to apologize for past actions, mentor younger talent, and behave professionally. A redemption story that contrasts sharply with the next legend whose villain persona extended far beyond the ring into real lives. John Bradshaw Layfield, better known as JBL, had a successful WWE career, first as one half of the APA tag team as a reliable mid-card act, and then in 2004 transforming into the wealthy, arrogant JBL character that led to a 280-day WWE Championship reign, making him one of the longest reigning champions of the modern era. And after retiring, he became a commentator, keeping his heel persona on the announce table for years. But behind the scenes, JBL was notorious as one of wrestling's most infamous bullies, with hazing and harassment stories shared by the Hardy Boys in their book, Edge standing up to his bullying, and the alleged harassment of announcer Mauro Ranallo leading to Ranallo's WWE departure in 2017 and sparking widespread criticism, with Pro Wrestling Stories calling his behavior a textbook example of workplace bullying tacitly approved by Vince McMahon, creating a culture where bullying was tolerated and encouraged, and the hypocrisy was clear as WWE ran anti-bullying campaigns like Be a Star while employing one of wrestling's most prominent bullies. And although JBL has apologized at times and defenders argue much of it was old-school ribbing, his actions hurt careers, while Ric Flair's alleged offering misconduct shows even icons are not above serious wrongdoing. Ric Flair is widely regarded as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, with more than 16 world championship reigns, legendary matches with Ricky Steamboat, the creation of the Four Horsemen, and unmatched charisma and promo skills, and his contributions to wrestling are immeasurable, with his Nature Boy persona, custom robes, figure four-leg lock, and signature woo, defining what it meant to be a larger-than-life superstar, and for decades, as Flair often said, to be the man you had to beat the man, and Ric Flair was that man. But his personal life and backstage behavior have been marked by serious allegations and controversies, most notably the infamous plane ride from hell in 2002, a WWE charter flight where multiple wrestlers and crew behaved badly, and flight attendant Heidi Doyle claimed that Flair cornered her and forced her to touch him while wearing only a robe, with the Dark Side of the Ring documentary bringing renewed attention to the allegations years later, and Flair has consistently denied forcing himself on anyone, blaming alcohol for his behavior while maintaining his innocence on the worst claims. Yet for many fans the allegations are impossible to ignore, with comments calling the incident heinous and questioning how WWE allowed him to face no real punishment. Adding to the controversy are Flair's financial troubles, multiple divorces, and ego clashes throughout his career, including a 2013 arrest warrant for unpaid spousal support that was later settled, and while his continued public appearances and wrestling into his 70s are celebrated as dedication, critics argue it shows an inability to leave the spotlight, making Flair's story complicated because his in-ring legacy is so legendary that many fans struggle to reconcile the nature boy they idolized with the allegations against the real Richard Flair, and recent documentaries and public apologies have done little to convince critics he faced proper consequences. Randy Macho Man Savage was intensity in human form, with his gravelly voice, flamboyant outfits, and larger-than-life persona, and every match was meticulously planned, famously faxing 29 to 30 pages of plans for major bouts to ensure every moment was perfect.
I was a perfectionist, as was Randy. The thing that I remember most about Randy was getting ready for the Los Angeles pay-per-view. And I remember riding in the limo with Jim to a town one night, and he telling me that Randy faxed him 29, 30 pages of a match.
That's what he did with Ricky Steamboat for WrestleMania 3.
Yes, he did. But look at the outcome.
Oh, it's yeah.
So that just goes to show you the...
His WrestleMania 3 match against Ricky Steamboat is remembered as one of the greatest wrestling matches ever, and his partnership with Miss Elizabeth created some of the most unforgettable moments in wrestling history, with his 2 WWF championship reigns and later success in WCW cementing his legendary status. But mysteriously Savage was effectively banned from WWE for many years and was not inducted into the Hall of Fame until 2015, 4 years after he died in a car accident.
When did you and Randy Savage, when did you guys first cross paths?
In the mid-'80s, back when kind of the landscape of wrestling was changing, the Rock and Wrestling Connection on MTV, the introduction of Cyndi Lauper, and all of the Hollywood types, and the Macho Man all of a sudden appeared, and he was as outrageous as he was touted to be.
A rumor circulated for years that Savage had an inappropriate relationship with Stephanie McMahon when she was underage, which supposedly caused his ban from WWE, with wrestling personality Dutch Mantel saying on a podcast that it was not just a rumor, it was almost accepted as fact. And some pointing to a promo where Savage cryptically told Triple H to give Stephanie a kiss for old time's sake as evidence. But these claims have never been confirmed, and many close to Savage have denied them, with his brother Lanny Poffo criticizing the media for spreading the story, and the truth is likely simpler, as Savage probably left WWE for a better deal with WCW, and Vince McMahon held a grudge, as he often did with wrestlers who jumped to a competitor.
Wrestling back then, the 80s, early 90s, such a different, I think, time for wrestling than it is today, would you say?
Oh, definitely. I mean, today everything is television. Back then, the WWE would do probably 2,000 house shows a year. Now they do 400, and it's all really wrapped kind of around television or pay-per-views. The stars are just as big today as they were back then. Of course, the Macho Man was one of the top.
I've heard, I wasn't never a wrestling fan, and I know who Randy Macho Man is.
Still, the unproven rumors hurt Savage's legacy and added to his posthumous reputation for controversy, and his family deserved better, as did his memory. And unlike many others on this list, Savage's story is less about proven wrongdoing and more about how rumors and unanswered questions can tarnish even the greatest careers. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, click on one of the boxes on your screen to watch more content like this.